Welcome back to 1010's podcast. My name is, of course, Michael Beck with Handsome Rob.
Oh, nice.
And no Adam.
Crickets. Oh, we should have played crickets.
We don't have a soundboard, Robbie. We've talked about this. We don't have the little button thing like Jason Ellis has.
Can we be a radio show?
Or Howard Stern. Nobody has offered us a radio spot yet.
Okay, well, chirp, 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 chirp. Adam's not here again.
So Adam is out for this week, but we have a replacement guest host. We have James, and I will butcher your last name, so why don't you just say it?
I'm James Chartres. How's it going, guys?
How's it going?
Doing good, doing good.
James is the sole proprietor, racer, mechanic, I assume, as well, for Kanga Motorsports.
Yep, that'd be me.
Does it all. We met James pretty early on in doing the podcast. I think we got in touch through Twitter or maybe through Instagram, but you were, I think, looking for additional automotive podcasts, and we got connected, and we've been talking to each other now for like 6 months, and so this has kind of been in the works for a long time, but we just started doing more remote stuff, so we figured now that we're doing it, we wanted to get James on to talk a little bit, because you've got a pretty interesting background, and you do some pretty interesting things with Spec Racer Fords, so...
Yeah, I'm not sure how interesting they are, but we can talk about it.
Well, so one of Robbie's bucket list things is to do wheel-to-wheel racing, so Robbie thinks it's pretty interesting.
I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun hobby. It's also, has its ups and downs, but it's good.
Tell us a little bit about the Spec Racer Ford thing. I mean, how did you get into that?
So, back in, 2010 or so, I have a Datsun 240Z. I was kind of track daying that car. It's a little too nice to put into a wall. And so after a few track days and a few years, I decided, I really should get something that I can just, crash into a wall and fix and not have to worry about too much. And so I started to look around at different options, and then went to Skip Barber with a buddy of mine. We got a pretty big discount and did the race school there, and then started to look into doing SCCA racing. So visited a couple races.
Did you do the school for any particular reason, or it was just something to do? Did you want to get your license? Was that something that was on your list to do, or it was just an opportunity and you took it?
Kind of a bit of both. I looked at getting my license, and then also it just popped up that it was a killer deal. I think we got something like buy one, get one free or something crazy like that. So,
because they're normally like $3,000 or something, aren't they?
Yeah, but if you sign up, there's 50% discounts and a whole bunch of discounts you can get from time to time. So
that's always been my thing about it, is it just seems like really, really expensive to do. And I bet that there's probably a way to do it locally that would be cheaper, but it's not very well publicized. So I've not really looked into it that closely. But
yeah, I like through NASA or SCCA, you can get your license, and it's probably a little bit cheaper than going through a Skip Barber type thing. But you might have to rent a car as well, so there's that cost there. But I mean, you could rent a Spec Miata and kind of do the school weekend for reasonably cheap.
So you got the license, and then did you know you wanted to do Spec Racer Ford, or was this something that you found that was interesting?
So I wanted to, I would love to race a Datsun, but it's just a lot of expense to maintain it and upkeep. And then also it's a unibody, so to repair it, it's kind of a lot of work. And then there are not that many cars in our region to race against. So I was looking at Formula V, and then Formula V doesn't have a lot of region racers out here on the West Coast. So after going to a few events, there was Spec Miata or Spec Racer Ford are the big two classes out here in San Francisco region. And so then it was a toss-up between the two. And after talking to a bunch of people and seeing the cars and stuff, I ended up renting the Spec Racer Ford with the intent of also renting a Spec Miata and trying it out. But that just never happened, and I ended up driving a Spec Racer Ford.
I can't blame you there, because I think the Spec Racer Ford makes almost the same power as the Miata, but it weighs a lot less. Maybe not a lot less, but it weighs less for sure.
Yeah, so your entry, like your cost to buy the car, your entry level is a lot higher. I mean, you can get a Miata for, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 kind of range. Spec Racer Fords are a little bit more up from the $12,000 to $15,000. So your investment early on is a lot higher, but the cost of repairs and stuff like that on the Spec Racer Ford is a bit cheaper. So
Can you just buy those body panels? Because I know you've had your bumps and bruises along the way. So can you just buy those? You patch them back together, or what do you do?
Yeah, so the guy I run with, he has some of the molds he made up for the body panels. So we'll cut off a section and then refiberglass in together. And then he does a lot of the paint and prep work as well in his shop. So he does a lot of fiberglass there. The other cool thing is if you rip a corner off, you don't have to beat out body panels. You just, replace suspension arms and things like that.
Nice.
So makes it a lot easier, kind of repairing and working on it's a lot easier too.
So as far as the Spec Racer Fords go then, what are you allowed to change as part of that series?
Yeah, so ours class is really a big, one make class. It's really spec. Right now there's 2 different types of motors, but you're allowed to change. There's a couple of different options for seats, but the seat has to be in the same location. But you can change your dash, your data system, your steering wheel. You can paint it how you want it to be painted. But a lot of the other stuff is all restricted and regulated, which is good. Keeps the costs down and kind of levels the playing field a bit. So,
because you guys even have like a spec brake pad and a spec tire. You can only buy one tire, right?
Yeah, so we have this new season this year is Hoosier tires, and so we have rear tires that are slightly larger than the front tires. But yeah, we all run the same tires, all run the same brake pads. The motors are sealed at the factory. At SCCA Enterprises, they dyno tune and seal the motors, and they're all within a few horsepower of each other. And then the gearboxes are also sealed, so we have to run the same final drive and everything.
So then, to get stuff like that, is it easily obtainable, or is it more of like there's only a couple companies you can get that stuff from?
So the great thing, I guess, with the Spec Races Forwards in particular, they have customer service representatives. So especially at SCCA weekends, they have what they call a customer service representative. He's responsible for that region, and he has all the spare parts on hand that you could want, and you can just buy the parts from him. And then you can also buy parts from SCCA Enterprises, but typically it goes through the customer service rep, and then you buy the parts from them. So there's some custom parts that are only SCCA parts, and then there's other parts that come from other donor cars kind of thing.
So when I was looking into this, I started thinking about the engine, because for me, at least on my car, on the Fiat, that seems like I'm always screwing with the engine and doing stuff with it, and I've ruined valve guides and stuff like that racing it. When you've got a sealed engine, what are your options? Do you just run it until you're just like, I'm so far down on horsepower, which might be, in this case, 10, that it's not competitive anymore, so I need to look into buying a new one next season? What does that look like?
Yeah, so you run the motor. I knew a guy who had a motor for about 6 years and was still competitive. So the motors aren't, peaked motors where they're at the limit of their available horsepower. They're designed for multi-use. So some people will switch a motor, every couple of seasons, same with the gearbox or something. But some people just use their motor until it dies, and then you can buy another one.
Are they pretty expensive? Or?
Well, they were, but now with the new motor out, so there's a new 1.6 that makes about 135 horsepower. That's what we call a Gen 3. Those motors run around 4,000 or so, depending on the replacement and what you need done. You can just get the head replaced, or you can do the full rebuild. But because everybody was upgrading to the bigger motor, all the old motors went really cheap, and so you can pick one up of the old motors for $600 to $1,000.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Because you did a whole piece for Track Tuned, our guys over at Slip Angle. You did a whole article for them about the cost of the Spec Racer Ford, didn't you?
Yeah, I put some data in there on the cost numbers for Jame. He was interested in the class when I was talking to him and just messing around, so he wanted an article for that. And then on my website, I have a little bit more of the cost about what it costs to run a weekend, entry fees, race gear, things like that.
It's got to be motorsport's not cheap. We've talked about this before on the show, but it's got to be one of the less expensive options for wheel-to-wheel racing that isn't Lemons racing, which we'll talk. This will come up again during the show, but it's Lemons is like that race series that seems really cheap, but it's not by the time you end up replacing so many things and trying to keep your car running, unless you've got a Civic. But it's got to be it's got to be down there. I mean, maybe Formula V in some regions is cheaper because it's been around for such a freaking long time and there's a lot of cars available, but it's got to be pretty affordable racing.
Yeah, it's cheap. I mean, a Formula V can be a cheaper car. The problem out here on the West Coast is there's not as many of those cars running other than in the majors events, which are like the national level stuff. So on a regional weekend, there may be one or two drivers. And, you know, I wanted to race and learn a little bit more about racing, not just driving fast. And so it wasn't really the path for me. But, you know, Spec Miata is pretty cheap to run. Formula V is pretty cheap to run. Spec Racer Forward's reasonably cheap to run too. And then, you know, you've got like Chump Car, Lemons. And out here, we also have another endurance series that's Lucky Dog Racing. That's on the West Coast. And they're like $2,500 cars instead of like the $500 cars. So they're a little bit more serious. You get a few more like BMW, you know, E30s, E36 kind of cars, things like that.
I wonder if that would be better though.
Yeah, is it similar to Lemons with the kind of the same rules?
Yeah, so they don't have any rules about, you know, how much horsepower or how much brakes and stuff. It's like you can spend $2,500 and then there's the safety gear. And then they class you in like an ABC kind of class, and that depends on how fast you're running. So if at one event you're really fast, they may regroup you, or depending on the car counts, they may regroup you and stuff. That way, like if you end up being like the fastest car out one race weekend, you're probably going to not have the same classification the next weekend kind of thing. And they may add a disadvantage to you by moving you up class, things like that.
It almost sounds like that's a little bit more serious than like Chump or Lemons, because like they showed pictures of Lemons just the other day of like one of the recent races, and a guy had done his car up, and it looks like a big duck or something.
Did you see I saw one recently. There was a dude that had taken one of those pop-up camper trailers.
Yes,
and he had taken a car, and then he had cut the inside of the pop-up out and put it around the outside of the car, and he was driving, looking through like the screen of the pop-up. I'm like, how is it going to stop? Right? How is it? When is this going to stop? This is ridiculous. There was
I think my favorite was the helicopter with the Australian on that team. That's how I found out about it. They put a helicopter on the chassis of a car, and then they were driving that around.
Yeah, when will it end? I do like it's like the drifting thing again. I do like the kind of slight disregard for. I mean, not really disregard for safety rules by any means, but just a little bit more relaxed. Like, we're here to have a good time, so let's have a good time. You know what I mean? I do like that aspect of it. But that Lucky Dog thing, it sounds kind of interesting, because my thing about Lemons is I wonder if $500 is like too cheap, and then it just nickel and dimes you to death, and you're working on your car for 26 hours and racing it for 2 hours at 10 minutes at a time. So I wonder if that would be better racing, you know what I mean? You put a little bit more money into the car up front, and then you'd have a better, you know, a longer endurance car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would run a little bit more than the $500 car, but maybe I'm just making shit up. Because probably what you do is you'd be like, okay, so I'm going to buy the most ridiculous $2,500 car I can buy, which is like a hardly running Jag XJS with a V12 in it, and that's what I'm going to run, and you just end up with the same issues. That's what I would do. Personally.
Yeah, that'd just be a little bit more expensive.
Right, then all the parts are more expensive, and you can't go to O'Reilly's or Pep Boys or whatever and get parts for it, and so then you're really screwed. So once it's done for the weekend, you're just out. But I'd like to look into that. It sounds kind of interesting.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I only just found it out recently, so I'm kind of looking into it to see. It looks like a really good alternative to the $500 cars. It's a little bit more serious kind of thing.
Yeah, so maybe next year after we do our Lemons race together, we can all get together and do a Lucky Dog race.
Robbie, nobody knows about this Lemons race that we have.
Everyone knows. Good. We talked about it with the slip angle guys. It's already a thing.
Oh, that's true.
It has to happen.
Yeah.
So we will probably be doing that Lemons race, I don't know when, probably sometime in the spring.
It's in April, isn't it? In Gingerman on your birthday.
No, that's the one in October. The one in October this year is at Gingerman, and I said I don't think that one's going to work this year.
I did not know. I thought your birthday was in April.
Gingerman, though. Yeah.
Is there another one in April?
Well, I think every year they have an April Gingerman one. So I don't know. The schedule's not out yet for Lemons. So.
That's too convenient not to do it.
I know. We'll do it. I hope. I honestly, even though it's funny, but I do hope that Jame still has his car and he's willing to prep it for us to do it, because I think it'd be a good time.
Yeah.
I think it'd be way more racing than we are prepared to do.
gonna have to spend all winter practicing on the simulator, getting used to sitting there for 5 hours and
I think you're just
getting behind the wheel.
I think you'll get in the car and be going around and round and round the track and just get sick. You'll just be like, I just need to come in and sit down for a while.
Worth it.
Because
so I did a 4-hour enduro at the end of last year, and we were doing 1-hour stints, and so that was pretty good. So it kind of you don't even notice an hour has gone by when they're like, okay, you need a pit now, and you're like, what happened?
we're not driving at 10 tenths. You're you're driving probably like 6 or 7 tenths. I would guess. I mean, I've never done it, but I've been told that you're not going flat out all the time because the car won't take it, and the tires won't take it, and the brakes won't take it. But so if you're not going that fast all the time, it's not as taxing on you either. You can kind of find your line and kind of get into a groove and just be in the car for a while and kind of settle in. But driving like your hair's on fire all the time, which is what we're used to, because like, I have 30 seconds on my lap and this is all I get, and you drive around like a maniac. That's not how you drive when you do a Lemons race.
No, not at all.
So
you're not trying to set lap records, and the other thing you're not doing is you're not trying to make that pass. Like a sprint race where you push to make a pass kind of thing. You're timing your passes and biding your time a little bit more.
Makes sense.
Is your season over? I mean, this is basically going to be September 2016 when this comes out, beginning of September. Do you guys have any other races on the calendar?
Yeah, so there is an October race that I think I'm going to race in. That's the last weekend for our region. And then in December, I'm probably going to be running the 25 hours of Thunderhill with some of the other Spec Racer Ford guys. So
that's a real 25-hour race in a Spec Racer Ford car?
Yeah, so we're using a modified Spec Racer Ford Gen 3, so with a new motor, and then it has some aero kits and some lighting for nighttime, of course. So they've run that car quite a few years in the past, and then they actually got third one year in their class, and so we're looking to run it. And this will be my first time running a 25-hour race, so it's going to be interesting.
Is that an unsanctioned non-SCCA type race, or what is that?
That's a NASA race, yeah.
Oh, it's a NASA race, okay. Because you're talking about putting aero on the car, so it made me wonder.
Yeah, they have like ES, ESR, I think is the top, where the Normers and Porsche GT Cup cars are. And then E0, E1, I think, and E2 maybe. And you can have everything from, Miatas on the track through, E30s all the way up to Porsche GT3 Cups or prototype cars. So
you could bring anything in you want, then they'll just class it.
Yeah, they'll just class you based on, I think, power and weight. And then also lap times, I think. I think they take into account some of the lap time stuff.
That's pretty cool. That'll be an interesting race, I think.
Yeah, I've pit crewed a couple times, and so that's fun. It's kind of exhausting, but it's really rewarding at the end. So
that should be pretty cool. So tell us more about the Datsun. We've seen it. I think it's been on our Twitter page, but I really don't know much about it. You've got some content about it on your website.
Yeah, so the Datsun's, I think I call it my forever project. I'm always kind of working on it from here time to time. I bought it, when the economy went down, people were selling off their toys, and I just happened to pick it up then. I was lucky. The guy put a bit of money into it. And he redid all the interior. So he kind of did it backwards. You know how you normally do the paint and all the suspension and everything, and then you fix the interior after. He decided to fix the interior without doing the paint and all the other suspension. So I've gone through, put some better suspension on it, still running stock brakes, and that was always a taxing kind of on the track day weekends. I had to bleed the brakes quite a bit between sessions. And then I just recently put an LSD in it a couple years ago. And then right now the motor is a little tired, so I'm in the process of building a performance motor for the car now and swapping it over.
You put a Subaru diff in it, didn't you?
Yeah, so the R180 Subaru diff from the WRX STIs, they are direct bolt-in for our R180 Subaru diff, except for the output shafts. They just have a different spline, and you can buy those adapters pretty easily online. So
that's really bizarre.
I'm surprised that that's a thing.
Well, it's the same. I think it was like Fuji Heavy Industries makes the diffs.
Yeah.
So they're all.
So it was literally maybe even the same design when they did the STI.
Yeah.
Then they just grabbed that design and changed it for the Subaru. Huh.
Yeah, so the case is about the same size and it has the same bolts, and then it's just you switch the input shaft where it mates and the output splines, and that's about it. So
That's pretty cool. That's probably a really easy swap then.
yes, relatively straightforward. Once you get it done, you get it just you got to source the diff. You got to make sure it's an STI diff because the other diff won't fit, and that's the big thing. And then just getting those spline shafts, you can buy them from a few machinists online now.
So that's got a straight six in it, right?
Yeah. So at the moment, it has a 2.8 straight six. That's kind of a little bit tired. It's got low compression on it, and so I'm building another straight six, but we're going to bore it out to like 2.95, almost 3 liters.
But you're gonna keep it basically it's the stock block. You're not going to a different engine or anything like that.
No, I'm just modifying the stock block and then upgrading the pistons and all the bottom end kind of thing, and then redoing the top end.
Are you sure you don't want to do an SR20 swap?
I think the big bang for buck is probably the 1JZ or the 2JZ, just because the parts are so available here in the U.S. with the Lexus cars.
Yep.
The SRs and the RBs are harder to get here because the U.S. never really brought the Skylines over, and also the SRs you can get nowadays they're getting a little tired. So
Robbie's right now looking at a 240 that he wants to LS swap to go drifting.
Well, yeah, I can't drift with the one I have, so I need to get another one.
A 240Z, not a 240SX, though.
Oh, 240Z, yeah.
Yeah, he's looked at a couple of Z cars.
I can't get away.
Maybe James could talk you into it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I kind of talked myself out of it. I'm like, oh, it's really rusted out. The frame rails are rusty. And then my buddy goes, oh, you get frame rails for $400 on eBay, and it's a race car, so we can just put a sheet metal on the bottom.
Well, aren't you gonna have a cage built for it anyway?
Yeah, see?
So what do you care if it's a little flimsy when you get it?
Now
you're going to have a cage built.
You're supposed to talk me out of this and tell
No,
me
I'm
to be
not.
responsible.
I'm never supposed to talk you out of it. Why would I talk you out of it? They're cool.
I know I want it really bad.
You should get it. It would be a cool race car. Because is it smaller than a 240SX footprint wise? Is it a little smaller?
I think it's shorter.
Shorter?
For sure shorter.
Do you have back seats? Is yours a 2+2, James, or is it no back seats?
Mine's just a 2-seater. Yeah, it's just got the hatch. So
did they do a 240 2+2?
No, I think that was like 260 and 280.
Okay.
That,
so yeah, you would think it's a little smaller because your 240SX had back seats, right?
Yeah, it's got back seats.
It still has them in there.
Yeah, it's complete.
So something to think about, Robbie. You should LS swap a 240Z.
Let's see if no one buys it because of the rust in the next few months, and
I'm not going to tell anybody where it is.
No, I can just go and
just go get it when you get back from doing your little drive in Florida. Call them up. It's only $500. What do you have to lose? Call them up and go look at it.
Can't afford to not buy it.
You can't afford to not buy it.
I have an extra. I could park outside and put it in the garage down here. Let's have 2 race cars in the garage.
Right. The Rogue does not need to sit in the garage.
No, I can sit outside. It's made for that.
You got remote start, don't you?
What am I, like, rich? I don't have that stuff.
Oh, jeez. Come on,
It's
Robbie.
a luxury. I don't need that stuff.
My 10-year-old Trailblazer has remote start.
That's 'cause it has all the bells and whistles of every car.
Just saying.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, the Rogue could sit outside. I think you should do it.
Yeah, I think you should get a 240Z.
With an LS. It's an easy swap.
Man, I could do that over the winter since I'm not working.
A lot of people have done it. We can go junkyard pull an engine for you.
Oh, and now since my ECU, I have proof that it's running on another vehicle, that I can get it running on my vehicle, which means I'm not going to be pouring money into the 240. I could pour money into the 240Z.
Right. So Robbie got an update from his tuner that they had it on another car and it was running perfectly fine.
Yep.
So
this was after they fixed the circuit board that was burned out. And then he got it running fine on another car, and then he said that my MAF is likely bad as well, based on the voltages I was getting from it originally.
So the second time you sent it to him, it did have a burnt circuit board.
Yes.
Okay, so they fixed that.
Yes.
They want you to change your MAF.
Yes.
Which you've ordered.
Yes.
And all that will be back when?
Likely this week, early next week.
Okay.
It'll probably come Friday or Saturday when I'm in Florida, and then I'll just do it all next week.
You'll figure it out.
Because I'm going to go through and make sure that everything is wired in perfectly right.
Yep.
And make sure that I wasn't at fault for shorting out my circuit board. So I'm going to go through and double check literally every wire.
Maybe that's what happened with your other one too.
No, because that one ran fine. The ECU was fine.
It was?
Oh, yeah.
When you sent it back, they said it was fine?
No, someone else has it in their car already.
And it's running?
As far as I know, yeah.
Bizarre, man.
Yep.
Bizarre issues.
That's was my car. It's my cursed SR20.
But you've got the new wiring. Yeah, anyway. It should be fine. It should just work.
It should just work.
It should just work.
It really should.
Who knows? Maybe get that MAF in there. It'll be...
And maybe that's all it was. And
yeah.
the fact that it shorted out was not even my doing.
Right. You don't know. It could have been shorted when you got it, right? You don't have a clue. So hopefully this ends this saga of your car not working right.
Now that race season's over, it'll probably
it'll be
done
perfectly
now.
fine. And those Hoosiers you got are completely useless.
I can get those mounted. We can go to one autocross event, and then I can just park it for the winter.
You can bring your Hoosiers inside.
You can burn them up in a parking lot.
I'll do that either way.
There's like 2 more O Drift Collective events left. I'm just saying.
So I'll take my A7.
Your A7s out to a drift event. Do it. Do it.
People are like, what the hell's this guy doing?
You can do it tandem with the Fiat.
There you go.
There you go. That'd be an awesome picture for the background.
Oh, you need a car with we both need cars with cages.
Yes, we do.
Because we can't do tandems without.
We need cages.
We need door bars.
We need cages.
I got a 4-point in mine.
We could have the 10/10ths drift team and then just leave Adam off to the side because he doesn't even show up anyways.
He said he'd do the camera car. Well, you know what the problem is though, because you'll have 400 horsepower or more. I'll have 300 horsepower or more, but he'll only have 100 and whatever. And so he's not going to be able to.
He's going to be way behind us.
It's going to be a useless camera car.
It's going to I'll say if I have the LS, I'll be like,
we're going to have to get him like a really,
bzzz.
really long lens so that he can actually shoot photos of us doing tandem drifts. He's not going to be any Larry Chen, we'll put it that way.
Oh, that's for sure.
No, you let him go first, and then you guys pass him drifting, and then he gets...
Oh, I didn't think about that. That's an interesting point.
Look at you thinking outside the box.
I think he has door bars, too, so he's just waiting on us at this point.
Yeah, he really is.
Or you, to buy a Z. Buy a Z, Robbie.
I'll definitely buy a Z.
I just got
Once you get the other 240 working, you're going to be bored. So what are you going to do with your time?
I always need a project. There has to at least be one project car going at all times.
Oh, BTW. The Camaro's fixed.
No way.
Car that I never talk about on the podcast. The 79 Z28 Camaro is fixed.
It was a lifter issue?
No. That turned out to be a blessing in disguise because you rode in that car and you heard the nasty noise it was making.
Yes.
It was a bad noise. So I took apart the top end. I took basically loosened the rockers and pulled the push rods. And some of the push rods were damaged, right?
Right.
You remember all that?
Yep.
So finally, after good guys, I was feeling motivated. So I went out and bought replacement push rods for those to see if at least I could get the noise to go away, if it was just the push rods slack in there hammering.
Right.
So I put them in. I set the lash on the rockers and started it. It was making the same exact noise. And so I was like, that's got to be internal nasty clicking banging noise. I'm like, it's got to be bad. So put it on it was running, so I put it on the trailer and took it down to the shop and put it on the lift, and the rear passenger exhaust header bolt was out. And I was like, there's no way that's all exhaust noise. That's all basically the combustion. You're hearing the combustion outside of the header. I'm like, there's no way all that noise is perfectly fine, because it was like a hammering noise.
Yeah, it sounded like a knock.
Yeah.
Like a top-end knock.
No, sir. It's quiet. Well, except for the really loud exhaust. It's perfectly quiet. So I've spent the whole summer not driving it because I thought for sure something internal was wrong with it, and it was just an exhaust click.
Well, it's like if I could ever get this SR20 running, I know I have a top-end tick.
Yeah.
And like the guy that sold it to me was really concerned about that, and he's like, "Oh, I don't trust it," because he spun a bearing in it before and had it rebuilt, and then it started ticking again. So I don't trust it. You drive it. I'm looking into it. It's like that's what SR20s do. They're called tractor engines for a reason, because they always sound like that.
They got hydraulic valves in them, or hydraulic
hydraulic lifters.
Yeah, so the lifters get stuck, or they don't pump up all the way and they start ticking, right?
Yep.
Because there was a kid. I call him a kid. He's probably the same age as me, but he was at Marshalltown when we did that invite track day that Bill put on.
Yep.
He's got an E36. I think it's an M3. Maybe it's not, but that thing was noisy.
Like an SR20 swap?
No. It was just a Beamer, right?
Okay.
But he like drove by and we're all looking at him. He's like, "Don't worry." They just all make this noise.
They just do that.
I'm like, that is a really loud ticking noise, though. He's like, yeah, but it's fine. It's fine until it blows up, I guess. But it's fine for now.
Well, my last SR20 did that too, but I think it was actually the sprocket gear for the VTC. I don't know what the hell that thing even does. It clearly didn't work on mine, but that gear would whine and sound like a tractor as well. And I think both of my SR20s have had some sort of a top end tick.
It's whatever. If
You're
it's not,
cursed, Robbie, you're just cursed.
you're a little cursed on the SR20 thing, which is why
I need to go to an LS.
trying to bring him over to the dark side.
Yep.
Because now I have more of a ground to stand on than before.
It'd be really cool to pop the hood of a 240, my 240Z, and have a GTO logo or a Vet logo.
I don't disagree with you there.
You know they sell Viper V10s for $6,000.
Where? With the transmission on it?
Uh-huh.
Where?
eBay.
No.
I'm
Working ones?
Uh-huh.
$6,000.
Complete.
No way.
I'm fairly certain that's what it would look. You can Google it if you.
Well, I bet the problem is, what are you going to put it in?
We can make that work.
We would need to cut the front end off of a car and make it longer.
We're caging it anyways.
Well, I'm fully aware of that, Robbie. I'm just saying that it's not just going to fit in there, though.
So
You're talking to two engineers here. We can make this work.
Are you looking it up right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, pictures already didn't happen.
Oh shit! I'm way off.
How much?
Oh, here, this one.
How much?
This one's $5,000.
How many miles?
Does it work though?
That's a good point. Does it work?
Oh, this one's 7,700. No, with the transmission, it goes up dramatically.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I don't know which one I was thinking of.
Well,
So closer to $12,000. So never mind.
okay.
It's not
So
an
never
option.
mind. This
It's not an
discussion is
option.
completely useless. Then
My
is what you're
bad.
saying. Okay.
My bad. So LS ones all day long.
It's too easy. We could get you one for a couple grand.
Yep.
Be off to the races, literally. Good to go.
Next summer could be really awesome.
You know it's never going to be that easy, though.
Nope.
It's never going to be. You're going to, especially if you get a Z car, because James doesn't have to deal with this where he's at, but where we are, everybody has left them in their backyard for 10 years. Like, there's not one that like somebody has driven in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
They've all sat in somebody's backyard, and they all sat in the backyard with flat tires, and then they sunk into the ground. And so the floors rust out. And so you got to deal with that.
Everything just rusts out anyway. You know, dog legs, floors, the frame rails. You know,
Is that? You guys don't see any of that there, though, do you? Unless somebody's left it in the yard and it's literally sunk into the ground.
Yeah, or by the coast. People leave it out in the salt by the coast, but you know, it's getting harder and harder to find a clean shell. And then they got a lot more popular, so they went up in price like crazy.
So you're saying a $500 Z right now is
you need to get in
best
now,
option.
is what he's saying.
Yeah, but I have a feeling you may put that on the trailer and then it just like falls into dust.
See, now he's talking me back out of it.
Yeah, but you're putting a full cage in it. It doesn't matter. With bars,
It's true.
you can have him build you a whole front end too. You can just hang the fenders
I
on
could
it.
have him do the whole
Yep.
bottom, everything.
Yep. Shinomi's got your back, dude.
He does.
Just do it. Just do it.
Like here's my $500 shell. Here's $2,000. Just fix it.
Just
all.
figure it out.
Yeah, get it all done.
It's basically just building you a tube chassis
So
car at
drift
that point.
car or race car?
Yes.
He has this idea. It's not the craziest idea ever, but he wants to build an all-around car, and I don't entirely disagree with.
I want to make it capable of drifting, but I could also take it and grip with it.
I think it's totally possible. We still have yet to find somebody that's done both or like owns both cars and has done really well with both cars and could tell us the setup difference.
Because even with you in the Fiat, I'm not saying I'm going to be competitive in both, but I want to if I take it to either event, I could do it.
I would think in a car like that, especially if you put like the ankle kit on it, I think that's going to be your biggest issue is the angle, and you have an LSD instead of a welded diff.
Right.
I can't imagine that you couldn't do both. I mean, you're not trying to win Formula Drift and then do World Time Attack the next day. You know what I mean?
That's what a real champion would do.
10/10 challenge.
Yeah.
But so I can't really imagine why it wouldn't work. It seems like the setups are very similar. Alignment wise is very similar. You just need different tires.
So you could adjust you could have a more aggressive like camber setup for when you're drifting and then kind of dial it back. And
I still think if you ran like 2 or 3 degrees of camber though, you could
be fine either way.
You should be fine. I mean,
just
really.
Change your tires or wheels and tires. Just have grip tires.
Right. Just have like 4 sets of wheels.
I already have a couple, so I mean, what's a couple more?
Right. What's a bolt pattern on a 240Z?
I think they're 4 by something.
4x114, whatever it is.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so it's
No, you're in Fiat world then with me, 4x9.
You can do a 5-wheel.
You can buy a 5-lug, yeah.
Yeah,
5-lug kit.
Is that a 5x100?
5x114, I would say.
5x114?
Just like the 240s?
Yeah, it's the same as the 240.
Yeah, I think they're the same thing. You could swap them.
Okay, so you get a 5-lug kit, and then you'd be set.
Yep.
How many sets of wheels do you have now? 2?
Just 2.
So we need to get you like 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
But good news is about 114s is that like a lot of the Ford stuff and a lot of the Toyota stuff is 5x114. So Mustang wheels.
Yep.
All the Toyota Lexus wheels.
Like all these wheels on Craigslist. Everyone's
all
trying
those
to get rid of.
Craigslist wheels.
Yeah.
Acura, it's the same.
Yeah.
Honda's the same. Some of the Honda. I don't know if there's a lot of 5x114 Honda, but I think Acura's all 5x114.
I think Scion was not. Because I remember.
Might have been 4-bolt.
I can't remember now. Anyways.
A lot of options out there.
This all makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. That's why you should do it.
Yep.
As long as you still got enough money to do the lemons raisin.
Oh, don't worry. I'm saving for that already. I got a piggy bank putting pennies in every day. I'm not really doing that.
He is in his mind. So for those that haven't caught on at home, James is from Australia originally. When did you move to the U.S.?
Yeah, coming up on 9 years, I'd say. So what makes 2007? End of 2007?
So you spent a decent part of your life in Australia. I mean, it's not like you moved here when you were 2 years old and you had no idea really what it was like.
No, yeah, I was in Australia for 20-something years, and then I was in Germany for a couple of years, and then over here, So
the Australia thing, we talk about Australia like it's the mecca for car culture, because all we see are you guys doing like burnouts in 1,000-horsepower Corvettes for miles at a time. Is that fabricated? It sounds to me like recently we've heard a bunch of stuff about them.
Yeah, or the laws kind of ruining that.
Yeah. I mean, what's the
Hoon laws?
What's the car culture really like there?
So a lot of those laws got passed since I've been in the U.S., but there's still Australia's always had a huge car culture. The Ford Falcon and the Holden Commodore, Holden Monaros, things like that. So that's always been big. And then we got a lot of the gray imports from Japan, so there was always a big import culture. So with my buddies, when we were in like high school and stuff, my buddies had some RX-7s and a Mark II Super, and we used to drive those things around. That was fun. But yeah, the laws are getting tougher, but there's always a lot of events. There's always burnout competitions. There's always, things at the track and stuff like that. So drag racing, all sorts of stuff. So
see, when I think of Australia, I think of that movie Love the Beast. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
And the
Eric Bana.
Yeah, Eric Bana and the Targa, what is that? Targa Floria?
Targa Tasmania.
Targa Tasmania. And that to me is Australian car culture. That might all be Hollywood bullshit, but like, I mean, when I think of Australia, I think of like we have massive expanses of land, and if you do some dumb shit out here in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't matter because there's nobody around. But I don't know if that's true.
I mean, Targa Tasmania goes through little towns and stuff, so it's basically they shut down the roads, and it's a big course on street roads. Trees right next to it, all sorts of stuff. So
are they still doing it?
Big event. Yeah, still going. Yeah,
sounds like a 10-10 trip.
Big international event. So yeah,
interesting. I feel like there's a target on the back of a lot of those events. So I wondered if maybe it would start winding down.
Yeah, see, it's hard to tell because there's such a big Australian car culture, and I think that event probably does a lot for the state of Tasmania. So it'd be hard for them, kind of to get rid of that event. It's a huge tourism thing, so it's unlikely they get rid of an event like that. So
that's good.
But I haven't been there for years, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
How did it compare to Germany? Because that's another country with a strong car culture.
Yeah, so Germany's car culture is a little bit different. They have a lot of race. They're very. They have their DTM series, and they have a lot of sedan racing, and the tracks you can go to and drive. But you don't in Germany. I don't think there's as much of that. Underground street racing culture, or at least you don't see it as much as you do in, say, the U.S. or Australia. And then in Australia, they're kind of cracking down on it. But the Germans, they tend to do it on track a lot more, and there's a lot more ways that you can go cheap racing and things like that in Germany, I think.
Did you do any of the quintessential German driving experiences like the Autobahn or Nürburgring?
Yeah, so we went on the Autobahn a couple times, but my buddies' cars really weren't that fast cars, and I didn't have a car when I was in Germany because I was only there for a short period of time. I was flying back and forth from Australia to Germany. So I was there for a 9-month stint or a 10-month stint, so I didn't really buy a car. But we did go on a buddy's motorcycle on the Autobahn once, and we were just flying along. I want to say we did 160 Ks or whatever, so 100 miles an hour we were doing, and we had to pull over as this Porsche just went flying by us, like it wasn't there kind of thing, like we weren't there, it just went flying by. So there are those fast cars out there.
I wouldn't.
But I didn't get to do Nürburgring or anything like that.
So. I wouldn't want to be on the Autobahn in a motorcycle.
Not at all.
That's too much stuff going on.
Doing it on the interstate here is too dangerous, in my opinion. I can't imagine the Autobahn.
Well, not only that, but he's talking about, you get one asshole in a Porsche that really thinks he needs to do 200. He's going to try it.
He wouldn't even see you.
He's going for it. Right. And you're just going to be a bug.
Yep.
He's just going to smash you. And there's trucks changing lanes, and there's too many things.
You wouldn't see it coming.
No, there's too many things happening for me. That's just you going a normal pace and everybody else around you, being dumb. But think about if you went out there and did 180 on a super bike. That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to see you coming.
No, not at all.
And they're going to change lanes right in front of you, and you're going to die.
They're a lot better over there about, the keeping out of that lane unless overtaken, though. They're real serious about that law, so.
As they should be. Seems like there's been more pressure on it here lately, but not enough. Probably not enough for the general public to get it, that they need to get out of the left lane. But what didn't we talk about a while ago? Minnesota or something like that was going to start ticketing for it.
Oh, I can't remember. There was a state.
It was in northern.
I want to say Michigan.
Was it Michigan?
They're going to start ticketing for it. Missouri already does.
Do they really?
She got one.
Oh, really? Jess got a ticket for camping in the left lane?
Yep.
Where were you?
I wasn't with her. This is long before I met her.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
She got it the week they put it as a law too.
This is a state that you can drink in the car.
Yep.
As long as you're not. Well, you can drink in the car.
You can drink in the car and drive as long as you're under the limit.
Right. So the driver can drink, but you can't camp in the left lane.
Yes. It's a backward state. Hey, how's it going?
Just give him a look.
I'm gonna get a punch here in a minute.
And you've just lost all your listeners from that state. So.
Hey, we love Missouri. I'm going there next month or next week.
Next week, yeah.
Next week
You'll
I'm going to be there
weekend.
at the lake, and you're down there at the lake all the time. So
We try to be, yeah.
So what else, James? You got anything else before we do the news?
No, let's hit the news. Let's do this.
What we got for news, Robbie?
All right, we can start with Hyundai won't build a Focus RS competitor, which I don't know. Why not?
So I read the article a little bit more closely, and I think so first of all, this Albert Bierman guy, who's the head of their N division, which suspiciously sounds like M division. I think the point he was trying to make was, we're not going to make that car right now.
Right.
Because I think he said that they were going to make it. They had plans to make it at some point.
No, he said that he's on board with making one.
Yeah.
They just don't have anything ready. And then he also claims that the customers are not ready for it.
I think he meant Hyundai, they don't have if they showed up with a 350 horsepower all-wheel drive monster, are you going to cross-shop it with the Focus? Realistically? If you're a person that's the Focus is sweet, I want that, are you going to go look at the Hyundai? I think is the point he's trying to make.
The Hyundai would have to be a hot hatch, just like the RS.
Yeah.
And they would have to it'd be starting from scratch, because do they have an all-wheel drive drivetrain?
Not for that, no.
Yeah, so everything would be from scratch. So I think it's
right.
He said the customer's not ready. What he should have said was, we're not ready, because they I don't know if they didn't see the Focus coming. I don't know. It's not to us. It was oh yeah, the Focus RS is an awesome car.
Their N division isn't even out yet.
2013 is when they were created.
Right, but they haven't really produced anything. I don't think. I think the first thing. This is speculation, but I think the first thing they're going to do is the Genesis Coupe, the new one.
Yep.
So the stupid thing about the Genesis, stupid thing about the Genesis Coupe is it's not going to be like the old one. The old one was like a 370Z competitor kind of, but cheaper, or like maybe a Mustang V6 competitor.
It kind of looked to me. I always thought it was somewhat like a BRZ. Like it kind of had that somewhat of the look. Maybe not quite the same class, but like that type of car.
Right. But I don't.
Yeah, but I think they were going for the Mustang and the 350, 370Z kind of market. That V6 Mustang and that kind of market. That's what they're targeting, I think.
Yeah, I think they were looking for more like the 300 plus market, 300 horsepower plus market.
Yeah, because they had 330 horsepower, but when you compare it to the 300 horsepower Mustang or 300 horsepower 350Z, I mean, they got walked all over. That Genesis wasn't crap compared to the other two.
No, it was, and it was a lot cheaper too. I think you could get one with the V6 for like 26, which is like BRZ money.
Yeah,
and it made literally 200 more foot-pounds of torque than the BRZ.
Right.
I cannot believe it didn't fly out of the dealership, but people didn't buy them. So
it got really bad reviews. Like a lot of the people like that would do like their initial test drives, and they were talking about it like 330 horsepower. Sure as shit doesn't feel like it.
That's weird.
Which didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Obviously, I've never driven one. I've always, I like when the concept came out, I fell in love with it. I thought it was a gorgeous car. It was like really the first Hyundai I ever thought about buying. But yeah, everything was negative once it came out.
So they ditched that approach.
So was it heavier? Is that what the issue was? Or?
I think it was a little heavier. I don't know. I mean, that's like their first performance car, really. Probably going to be wrong, but
they had the Tiburon, which I would you could
that was a piece of shit, I think.
Yeah, like their transmissions would shell out like it was nothing. I watched a buddy go through 2 transmissions in 2 months.
So I think for a first attempt, it was really good. I mean, if I found a salvaged one, I'd really consider buying it now. Like I have no reason for it, but I would really I would question it. I would think about it.
You could cage it and put an LS in it.
I could cage it and put an LS in it. It would be a sweet drift car because you never see them.
No, it'd be cool.
I've seen one. I've autocrossed for like 6 or 7 years now. I've seen one at an autocross. One.
And they should be common. They should be at everyone.
You would think so. Even the base model one's 270 horsepower with the turbo.
It'd be fun at an autocross event.
I would think so. I don't understand.
Yeah, but you can buy a 350Z now so cheap. So why would you?
Yeah, so $8,000 goes a long ways for a 350Z.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, it didn't work out for them. So they're going to do the new Genesis Coupe is going to be like a luxury thing. It's going to be like
the Coupe or the sedan?
Both. But the Coupe now too.
Oh.
So when they do, I don't know if they're going to do a base Coupe and then an N Division Coupe. I'm not really sure, but they're talking about like a twin turbocharged
Man, they really
V6 in the new one.
They really are following the BMW.
They're kind of doing the
luxury.
Yeah.
Air quotes.
So, anyway, I think they need to do that first, and then maybe they'll think about doing a really, really hot hatch. But there was video, did you see, of that I30 that had some sort of upgrade to it, or was supposed to be kind of an N Division car that had
I knew they had the I30 N Division.
Whatever that's going to be.
On the Nürburgring, but I didn't really see anything past
I don't know.
that.
I think that was maybe more of a Focus ST competitor, like a 270 horsepower, still front-wheel drive type of thing, but I don't know for sure. So, I don't know. That Albert dude, minced his words pretty hard on that, saying it was too fast for our customers and our dealerships.
No, sir.
I don't think that's what he meant. Please make us a 400 horsepower all-wheel drive Hyundai.
Yeah.
Please do.
More hot hatches.
Absolutely.
Hot hatches.
Moving on. So the government released a proposal to limit the semi-trucks to either 60, 65, or 68 miles per hour.
So they had different speeds then.
Yeah.
They hadn't even...
Like the proposal kind of has different reasoning for each one. So say, I think it was 1,100 some deaths a year on interstate with semi-trucks.
Okay.
And then they estimated that if you drop the speed limit to 68, you save 300 lives.
Okay.
And if you drop the speed limit to 65, you save 500 lives. And then if you drop the speed limit to like 60, you save 700 lives or something like
some weird statistic that they come up with.
Yeah, some algorithm that compared that semi-truck drivers wouldn't crash as often and would live versus if they're going the speed limit of 70 or 75, they'll crash and die more.
Well, I read something about 23% of all truck crashes involve like speeding. Is that true?
I don't know.
Does that seem true? That doesn't seem true to me.
It was always my understanding that they got major tax breaks if they governed them less than 72. I don't know if that's true. I couldn't find any information that actually validated that. But as long as I can remember, I remember truck driving like kids that had truck driving dads in high school. I remember that being to me, it was always a thing. Like, oh yeah, that's why they only go 70 or 72 on the interstate. It's because they can only go 72, and they get a huge tax break for not being allowed to go higher.
Well, I thought, I know for sure that they have to keep logbooks.
Right.
And it's pretty easy to tell if you're speeding just based on how much distance you traveled over time, right? That's all speed is. So if you went, couldn't even pick a distance, but pick a distance, and you divide it by how long it took you, and you come up with 75 miles an hour, it was obvious that you were speeding.
Yeah.
And so you could be levied a fine for that, or maybe it was taxed or whatever. So that's why they didn't speed. So I find it really weird that they're saying that speed is a factor, especially highway speed. Like maybe, going through when you're getting close to your destination and you're in town and maybe you're speeding and you blow a light and then you hit somebody. But that has nothing to do with this.
Well, then, also percentage-wise, they said there's 3.6 million big rigs on the interstate this year.
Okay.
And only 1,100 crash and die? That's a pretty low percentage. And if we're going to be targeting them, in all auto accidents, 1,100 is not a lot.
It's low percentage-wise.
We had, I think it was like 300 this year in Iowa.
Deaths?
Yeah.
300 deaths, yeah.
So I don't know. It just seemed weird. And they also claimed that by dropping it down to, I can't remember if it was 60 or 68, but dropping that speed limit down would be $1 billion saved in diesel per year. $1 billion? $1 billion per year is what they're claiming.
Interesting.
But I wonder how much those drag things would save more in diesel, those things on the back of the trucks to reduce the drag. Yeah, I wonder if that would save it more than going at 68 miles an hour.
Yeah, spend more time focusing on the aerodynamics of it and the drag.
Which they're going to have to do anyway.
If you're really trying to save emissions, I think that's where it is. I don't know. I'm not convinced that the speed is an emissions thing. It might be a safety thing.
It's interesting that this has come out right after we talked about emissions last week for trucks, having to reduce those.
Well, again, if you put a car on the interstate, I realize there's a minimum of 40. But if you have a car that's every single truck is constantly going 2 to 3 miles an hour under the speed limit, is that technically, to me, that'd be more dangerous because every other car is going to be passing that truck going the speed limit.
Well, that's what they do in Illinois, though. Illinois, the truck speed limit's like 5 or 10 miles an hour slower.
They have 3 lanes, though, don't they?
Probably, yeah, that's true.
Then if we're going to go that route and have trucks be slower, we're going to have to redo our interstates.
So we got 3 lanes everywhere?
3 lanes everywhere. So you have your truck lane, and then you have your 2 lanes for your cars.
No, in California, it's like 10 miles an hour slower than the cars, and we're only running 2 lanes. So
are you?
We do that here. So, it'll be like 70 on the 5, say, heading north, and then the truck speed limit's 60. So,
let's see. It doesn't do any good in that case, then.
Yeah. I don't know. It just always seemed weird to me, have different... I understand why you'd want them to be slower, but at the same time, it's if you're on the same road, you should have the cars going the same speed.
So the hassle's going to be when they're overtaking each other. When a truck's overtaking another truck and you're stuck behind with all the traffic with the cars, that's probably where
slows the whole thing down.
Yeah, you're moving roadblocks. But
the interesting thing is, it sounds like the trucking administration is all about it.
Right?
They support it. Which I'm not really sure why. Again.
I thought their reason was because it would take longer to get to places and they get paid by the hour. So,
that might be true.
I thought they got paid by the mile, 50 cents a mile or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they get. I don't know. That's weird. It's a bizarre. The whole story is bizarre. It seems like there's something else going on.
But if you Google government proposal of semi speed limit, there is a proposal every year with the same article title all the way back to 2008.
Really?
Oh yeah. If you do a Google search and you'll look through it.
Yeah.
On the first page there was stuff from 2010, 2012, all the way back to 2008, all on the first page. So this isn't
new.
This is every year.
Interesting. I wonder why it's not passed in previous years.
No, I didn't look into it enough to get an answer.
Damn it, Robbie.
I'm sorry.
What's next?
Thieves steal $250,000 worth of wheels and tires from a Chevy dealer in Texas.
So stupid.
This is so stupid, this article.
So apparently they went in, knocked out the spotlights in basically what sounds like behind the dealership.
They cut through a fence.
Cut through a fence.
It was a fenced-in dealership, and they broke in.
Yep. And then what doesn't make sense either.
In their reserve lot, right? Was it in the dealer lot or was it the reserve lot?
It looked like a back lot.
Yeah, behind it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But then they said that it took them 4 hours, and they showed up with a van, which doesn't add up at all. If you're stealing 48 sets of rims,
how are you going to put them in a van?
They're not fitting in a van.
So they left, is what you're saying.
Are you taking 20 trips?
They
Where are
left
they going?
and came back to steal more wheels, and then left and came back.
Or they had dump trucks.
Yeah, but the article only said they came in a van, and then that was it.
That is one awesome van, like a clown car van.
Well, here's the really stupid thing: is they didn't even steal like the good wheels.
Like off your cheap throwaway wheels from your Camaros.
Yeah, they said they like stole wheels off the Camaro RSs and stuff, not off of like, Chevy would have had like LTZ Sierra, or not Sierras, but 1500s, Denali's, or Denali's would be GMC, but LTZ would be top of the line, or I don't know, anything else. Anything else? Why would you steal wheels and stuff like that off of a base model Camaro?
Right,
you're not going to get any money for that.
Like, are they going to sell these? Like, what are their plans?
That's the other issue now.
Are you going to take it to a recycling area? You're going to show up with 48 sets of brand new rims and be like, oh, we're going to recycle this.
You're going to have to sit on those for a year, and then next year you can start thinking about selling a few sets of them. You can't sell them all at once. You can't put 48 sets of basically brand new wheels on Craigslist and try to sell them.
Right. Yeah, to me, this seemed like less of a way to steal a bunch of money and more of a revenge thing.
Just to screw them over.
Yeah, it just seems like somebody is screwing somebody over by going into their lot, stealing rims that they're not going to be able to sell. They can't just turn around and get rid of unless they're shipping them out of the country. But even then, like, it just doesn't add up as to why they would do that, or it's a scam. To me, there's a bunch of red flags.
Maybe they were selling the wheels to Mexico, sending them to Mexico, because they are in Texas.
Yeah, that's got to be the only option, or throwing them on a boat and
sending them to Europe or something, selling them to Portugal.
Maybe they were drifters and they cracked so many rims they needed.
That's a good point. They were going to keep them. That's a good point. That's why you would steal cheap wheels.
That would be why I would.
Because you're not going to put 20s on your drift car.
No, I'd steal them from the Nissan dealership, but whatever.
But if you had a GTO, we know somebody that has a GTO.
A GTO
that drifts. I know 2 people that have GTOs that drift.
Suspects.
No, we're not pointing fingers at Iowa drifters.
Any previous guess, but it's a possibility that theoretically, if you were a drifter with a 5x120, no, he has a 5x114 bolt pattern. He's in the clear. The other guy with the red GTO, though, he may have. If you see a red GTO in Iowa, it may have stolen wheels on it.
Jeez.
Anyway,
just speculation.
Just throwing that. Yeah, speculation only. Please don't sue me.
There's a lot of curb rash on the wheels. They're stolen. So.
Yep. And then we can wrap this up with the IndyCar. Had an exciting race at the Texas Motor Speedway. Guess what? To me, it was really exciting. Was that Graham Rahal? I don't know names at all. He came from third.
Rahal.
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 Do you have some European way of saying that?
Pretty sure it really is Rahal, though, right?
No, I've
James?
actually, you when you watch an IndyCar race, they announce. So Robbie clearly has never watched an IndyCar race.
That's not true. I watched it in person.
We went to that IndyCar race, but it was so boring, you probably fell asleep.
No, I watched it there. It was nice. But yeah, I'm not listening. I'm not listening to him on TV.
Compared to this, it was boring.
Yeah.
That race that
Texas
we went to, Texas would have been fun. The race that we went to was a lot of cars going around in circles 300 times with no incidents.
No.
And almost the same person in first place the entire time.
Yes.
Well, Texas was rescheduled, right? They got rained out in the first time, and that was rescheduled. So.
Yep. So, anyways, we'll just say Graham. He came from third to first on the last lap, and then won by 8 thousandths of a second.
That's crazy.
0.008.
But he almost lost it. He was celebrating in the air.
Yeah.
He made the perfect pass and then didn't really give himself the chance to finish it.
Did you listen to that commentary, James?
No, I just saw the bits of the video. I wasn't really listening in, but
they said him lifting his hand up in the air like that is worth 5 pounds of drag.
Oh, is it really?
So he really could have lost from celebrating too early.
Wow.
That's crazy to think about.
Yep.
I mean, when you're talking about 8 1,000ths of a second, 5 pounds of drag,
yep,
could do it. It really
easily
could
have done it.
So
5 pounds sounds like a made up number, though. Everyone, if it's a 5 or a 10, it's a made up number.
it's 15 pounds of drag, that fist in the air.
No, it's five. It's 5 per hand.
Oh, that's right, because you have 5 fingers. That makes sense. Right. A fist has 5 fingers, and it's 5 pounds. Yep, I get it. I totally. This is why they don't ask us to do any commentary for any race series, even like backyard, unsanctioned dirt racing. They don't want us there either, because we'll just make shit up the entire time.
Sounds more interesting to me. Whatever.
Let us know. Call us.
Yeah, our reality is much more exciting than their actual reality.
That's true.
Yeah, it was the 5th closest win in IndyCar history.
That's pretty crazy.
And then also Scott Dixon got caught on camera giving Ed Carpenter the double birds.
He's pissed.
Love it.
Well, did you watch? You didn't watch this, did you?
No, I watched that highlight reel. I watched the highlight reel from the race. That was
so
about
like
it.
He's all pissed off, but if you watch the video, Ed Carpenter barely moves at all, and Scott Dixon comes up.
Yeah, he ran
into him.
Scott ran into Ed, right?
Yeah, it's clearly Scott's fault.
But you watch the video the first time, and it looks like Ed had come down on him.
Yep.
But really, I think Scott went back behind him to draft.
Yep, and he came up too fast.
He came up too fast and hit him and just spun him around.
Yeah, his right front tire hit Ed's left rear tire. And then Ed's rear tire actually went flat like 2 laps later, and he crashed into the wall too.
That was a pretty good crash.
I'm not sure, because you see one angle, and Ed's not going all the way up on the bank. And so if he'd swung out like he should have, I don't think Scott would have hit him. So, and whereas the other angle, it's straight, and you don't see that the bank goes up more. So.
Oh, you think Ed got off the line a little bit? And
well, I've got to side with the Australian anyway.
Oh, yeah, of course, every time.
I see how this is.
And he gave the double bird, and that's awesome to me.
That's bonus points?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be too mad about that. Wasn't Castroneves, wasn't he involved in... He was involved in, like, both of those crashes, too, I think. Because I think Scott Dixon ran over... Like, almost ran into Castroneves after he ran into the wall.
And then he clipped Carpenter.
And then he clipped Carpenter, and then he was out after that as well.
Yeah.
I told you, it was a way more interesting race than the one that we watched.
Yep.
There was literally 0 crashes. There was 1 engine failure.
One engine failure, and then... was there 2 engine failures?
Maybe there were 2.
It was 2 engine failures, and that was it. Like
that was literally
they just put everybody
for
in caution.
300 laps.
Yeah.
On a short track.
Yeah.
Just guys going.
How big is Texas Motor Speedway? Do you guys know?
Oh, it's
no idea.
It's pretty massive.
Is it like a couple mile track?
Yeah, I think it's big time.
Yeah, because they do NASCAR there, don't they?
Oh, I'm fairly certain.
That'd be like a 4 mile track, wouldn't it?
No, not that long.
No, they don't have the balls that long, right?
How big is Indy? How long?
Oh, Indianapolis?
Indianapolis.
I think it's less than 3 miles.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's like 2 something, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's like so Iowa Speedway is less than a mile.
3/4 of a mile.
3/4. It sounds so short.
It's itty bitty.
Because Marshalltown's like 5/8 of a mile or something.
Yeah, our little autocross
Our
track.
little tiny
go-kart track.
Right. So you think comparison-wise, it seems so damn small. Yeah. It seems so small.
Right.
But
Indy's tiny because it's like 37-second laps or something. So it has to.
Right.
So it's got maybe it is smaller than that then.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought Texas was bigger. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything is bigger in Texas. Why would they make a small track in Texas? That would be ridiculous. What do you got for us, James? Before we sign off, we need to make sure to plug your website and your sponsors.
Yep. So you can find me on kangamotorsports.com, all one word. So Kanga, short for kangaroo, motorsports.com. And then I am on Facebook, Kanga Motorsports as well. On Twitter, I'm Kanga Motorsport, not sports, because Twitter won't let you have more than so many letters.
I feel you.
And then, I think you guys had the same problem.
Yep, exact same problem.
Yeah. And then on Instagram, Kanga Motorsports as well. So at Kanga Motorsports. And then I want to give a big shout out to one of my great buddies and sponsors, CSR Performance. He's the guy that we're going to be running the 25-hour Thunderhill car with, and he's the one that helps me with all my racing gear, and I've learned a lot from him over the years. So I want to thank Rick Herr for all his support, and if you could check him out, CSR Performance, give him a like. I'd much appreciate it.
Cool.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it, guys.
before he signs off, make sure to find us at 10tenspodcast.com. We've got our store up and running. You can order things at will. You don't have to wait for us to do another T-shirt release. You can order whatever you want there, including mugs, and soon, if we can talk Robbie into it, pillowcases, so that you can sleep on us whenever you want to.
I tried to find ladies' clothes and like booty shorts. I couldn't do it.
Not a thing?
No,
you have to do a separate
I couldn't
store.
link. I could do a different store, but I don't want to have two stores. So
here's a question for you: did they have water bottles? This is for one person, but I'm going to ask it in front of all of everybody. Do they have water bottles?
Not on this site.
Interesting.
Not this.
They claim that they have like 10,000 different SKUs or something.
Yeah,
like that,
our current drop shipper has basically just a few other things, like totes and phone cases and pillows and a couple other things.
Basically, we've got, other than the pillowcase, which Robbie is vehemently against.
Well,
for whatever
until
reason.
people start buying all their other stuff, maybe then I'll do pillowcases.
Okay, fine. I just think pillowcases would be a hit, Robbie. People be into it.
Like throw pillows on
beer mugs. You guys got beer mugs?
No, coffee mugs.
No, that's not a beer mug.
It's 15 ounces. You could put beer in it.
That's not enough beer.
I like this guy's from Australia. Drinks a lot of Fosters, I hear.
Yeah.
No.
Do they even sell Fosters in Australia?
It's really hard to buy. It is really hard to buy. Like, you got to go to a specialty store to try and get it.
That's funny.
That's not made in Australia, right? That's just a bunch of bullshit.
No.
It's just
like
a commercial.
In Europe, it's made in Austria, not Australia. So
Really?
yeah.
So that's like
Have we been lied to this entire time? Or
the commercial says
course you
Foster's Australian for beer.
did they think we're that stupid as Americans?
We are that stupid.
I've never had it before.
You guys buy Budweiser, and that's not American. So
That's true. It's French, isn't it? No, it's German. It's German.
Budweiser?
It's Austrian. It's Austrian.
Anheuser-Busch, right?
Yeah, it's Austrian.
Isn't that in St.
He's an
Louis?
Austrian immigrant.
Yeah, but isn't like the whole...
Oh, yeah.
It's an American lager.
Sure.
Yeah, but the profits aren't going here.
It's owned by...
Most of the profits are in like the Ozarks. The whole Bush family lives there.
No. It's owned by InBev now.
Oh, is it?
InBev bought all that stuff from the Bush family. It's gone.
Man, I know nothing.
It's all gone. All that stuff's going to
Because
InBev.
anytime I do drink, it's the
Microbrew?
hipster beers.
Oh, did you know? You probably don't know this, but James does microbrewing.
Oh my gosh.
So you're calling James a hipster.
I call myself a hipster.
Yeah, but the maker
I'm a
of a
beer snob.
microbrew is way more of a hipster than the drinker.
See, now you said that, not me.
Okay, well, fine. I'm calling James an Australian hipster then. Fine.
Yeah, we were just bottling last night with some buddies of mine. So
What'd you make?
we did a brown ale and like a California ale. So
Nice.
What's a California ale? Like an
Probably
IPA?
light. It's gotta be light.
it's not as hoppy as an IPA, just like an ale. So like a British ale is about with a little bit more hops, but not as hoppy as an IPA.
Okay.
Okay, so let me get this straight. James is an Australian
Yes.
who's traveled abroad,
Yes.
who lives in California,
Yes.
who works for NASA as an engineer.
Which we didn't mention before, but yes.
He does Spec Racer Ford things.
Yes.
He does Datsun things.
Yes.
He brews his own beer.
Yes.
Why are people listening to us? He's so much cooler than us.
James needs his own podcast. Well, he has an accent, too.
Yeah, and he has an Australian accent.
Right.
I don't really have much of an Australian accent anymore. I've lost a lot of it.
Could you turn it back up, though? Like, if you had your own show?
If I go home and I'm talking to people, it comes back pretty quick. So
I'm sure.
Because I have this theory that, like, and maybe it's other countries as well, but Americans, when they get around people with accents from foreign countries, they just automatically listen to those people for no apparent reason.
Oh yeah, people loved it when Joss was on.
Yeah, because he's from, well, he's Indian, but he's British,
Yep.
so he's got the British accent. People love it.
Oh yeah.
Girls love it especially.
Yeah.
As Jess nods her head in the background. Jason Ellis, Australian.
Yep.
He's still got a little bit of an accent.
Yeah, people love him.
Huge radio show.
It's the biggest on Sirius besides Howard Stern.
Is it?
I think so. I think
Second biggest radio show. I think he said he had like 11 million listeners. Or
Yeah,
something
it's
like
something
that.
crazy.
It's crazy. That's a crazy amount of people.
that is insane.
So anyway, James, you should seriously consider turning that accent back up a little bit and doing a movie, maybe a podcast at an absolute minimum, but maybe just some voiceover work.
We just make this a thing where we travel and race with each other, and then we have him on
Have
all
him
the time.
on all the time.
Yeah.
He's the fourth member.
It's a win-win. Well, or he'd be the third member since we don't have a third anymore. All right, Adam, you've been replaced.
Got him.
Yep.
Just like that.
Yep, we're doing remote podcasts with James from now on. It's all right.
Man, Robbie's a savage this week. Doesn't care. Not giving a fuck.
Yeah, he's missed like What's his average? 1 out of every...
Oh, he was doing
8?
a lot better there. I'll come in
1 out of
defense of Adam. He was doing a lot better there for a while.
Dang it.
Can't completely sandbag. You can't sandbag him completely. He's not
I promised him that I was gonna train wreck him on the show.
He did. Robbie said he's just totally gonna run him over. So to finish my promo, at the number 10 Tenths Podcast on Twitter, 10 Tenths Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. What do we got coming up? Anything interesting? Something we talk a lot about Grid Life, and another festival is Proving Grounds.
Up in Brainerd?
We've kind of vaguely talked about it, but I don't know much about it.
No.
But it's coming up the weekend of Friday, September 9th. So maybe we'll see some press from that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an awesome thing.
It's supposed to be very similar. I think it's been around longer.
Quite a bit
But it's supposed to be very similar. So if you're up in that area near Brainerd and you missed Grid Life, or you just want to check out a track day, you should check that out. Because I think they do some more. They might do drag racing.
I think they do drag racing,
They do autocross there also.
So this is why we need Adam back, because he actually knows this.
He knows these things. I'm trying to do Adam's job now off of my phone, which is normally how he does it. I think that's about it.
Just Google Calendar, and then you're set. You don't need Adam.
Oh, yeah. Just use his calendar.
Our season's winding down. I mean, we're getting into mid-September. It'll be the week after this comes out, so there's not going to be much left. Unfortunately for us, we get snow, unlike James, who just gets the same weather. It's just
all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be jealous of our changing in the seasons. You get the same weather every day.
We were talking about this. I don't think that he is jealous, to be completely honest.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with what I have. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you just keep your June gloom, and we'll just have shitty.
June gloom, you mean as it's sunny and 76 every day?
No, it's dreary for like 3 days.
You get 3 days of rain.
Yeah.
That is a problem, but otherwise it's beautiful there.
So you guys just have to come out and do an endurance race on the West Coast in winter.
Why you got to do that to us?
Yeah. Not to mention I have like a 2-week winter break from work over Christmas.
What?
Yeah, we have
Is it scheduled?
We have like a winter shutdown.
Is that normal?
Yes.
Okay.
So like I have like a paid 2-week holiday.
Oh, okay. I was like, is this a bad 2 week?
No, it's a wonderful. It's a wonderful thing.
Okay, so it's a good.
So
break.
you're like, I'd be getting paid from work. I could leave. We could race.
Well, we had talked about maybe going to SEMA.
Oh man!
But that's in November.
That's November, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could just save up to do like an event a month.
But we gotta
You
go
guys totally do SEMA.
If all of our friends and listeners would buy shirts, we could afford to
we
travel.
could go to SEMA.
Yep.
That's a good point. Because that's December 3rd, I think. SEMA is.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay, we'll figure something. Or we'll go to. No, sorry, it's November something. PRI is December 3rd, I think. I'm pretty sure PRI is.
We're probably
December.
not even close.
No, I'm fairly certain. Probably
SEMA is in November.
Probably not true, but yes, I'm fairly certain that PRI is in December because I was kind of seriously thinking about that because it's closer.
Yeah, it's in Indy, isn't it?
Yeah, we could drive there or not drive there. I've got so many mileage points. I still need to go to California though because I can go hang out with James and then hang out with Cabot also.
Oh yeah.
So I have to think about that.
Yeah, spring we'll do the 24 hours lemons with you guys, and then maybe later in the year you guys got to come out this side
And do Lucky Dog, yeah.
There we go. Or some other type of race. You guys probably have tons and tons of lemons races out there, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
Or chump races.
With us is they sometimes the schedule is on the same weekend as the SCCA weekend, so that's so I miss them because I'm racing Spec Racer. So
fair enough. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Done. We will catch everybody next week. Thanks for tuning in, and James, thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Peace.
Bye. Is that like Horror Island?
No,
Like
Horror Island would be
Gilligan's
great.
Island.
Isn't Horror Island from 30 Rock?
Sorry, I was thinking about Horror Island. That's from Archer.
Is it from
Of
Archer?
course it's
That's
from
from Archer.
Oh, okay.
Is there really a place called Horror Island?
No.
What am I doing here?
Should I